5 defects in 10 years, and 4 of them you have probably never heard of. The 5th one killed 261 people, got blamed on the pilots for 7 months, and was only proven to be a mechanical failure when a fuel switch failed at Heathrow 8 months later. What you are about to discover is every critical safety issue the Boeing 787 has faced since 2013, why the fuel control switch defect is the only one still under investigation, and what that means for the 787s in service right now. Defect 1, battery fires, January 7th, 2013. Japan Airlines Flight 7, Boston Logan Airport. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner parked at the gate, caught fire. The lithium-ion auxiliary power unit battery overheated. Smoke filled the cabin. Emergency crews extinguished the flames before anyone was injured. 9 days later, All Nippon Airways Flight 692, flying from Yamaguchi to Tokyo. The main lithium-ion battery overheated mid-flight. The cockpit filled with smoke, burning smell in the cabin. Emergency landing. The FAA grounded the entire Boeing 787 fleet worldwide, every single aircraft, 50 operating globally at the time. This was the first complete fleet grounding since the DC-10 in 1979. The Dreamliner program nearly died. Airlines threatened to cancel orders. Boeing stock dropped. The investigation revealed that the lithium-ion batteries could enter thermal runaway, a cascading failure where overheating causes more overheating until fire occurs. Boeing redesigned the battery system, added steel containment boxes, venting systems to release heat outside the aircraft. 3 months later, the 787 returned to service. The battery issue was resolved, but it established a pattern. The most advanced commercial aircraft ever built had a fundamental design flaw that required grounding. Defect 2, engine icing. 2015 to 2016, multiple Boeing 787s experienced sudden engine power loss at cruising altitude. The cause? Ice crystal icing in the Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines. At high altitude, ice crystals can form inside the engine core. These crystals do not show up on weather radar. They accumulate in the combustion chamber. The engine loses power. In some cases, the engine rolls back completely. Pilots reported thrust loss with no warning. At 38,000 feet over open ocean, this is catastrophic. The FAA issued an emergency airworthiness directive in 2017. Engine software updates, new operational procedures for pilots flying through areas with ice crystal potential. Rolls-Royce modified their engine design. The problem was addressed, but for 2 years, 787 operators flew aircraft with engines that could lose power without warning. Defect 3, fuel switches, 2018. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a safety bulletin. Boeing 787 fuel control switches could potentially malfunction. The bulletin recommended inspections and potential replacements, but it was advisory, not mandatory. Boeing treated it as low priority. Airlines continued operating with the original switches. June 12, 2025. Air India Flight 171 departed Ahmedabad for
London.
32 seconds after takeoff, both engine fuel control switches moved to the cutoff position. The engine stopped. The aircraft crashed into a residential area. 242 people on board killed. 19 people on the ground killed. Total, 261. The cockpit voice recorder captured the final moments. One pilot: "Why did you do that?" The other pilot: "I did not do that." The investigation focused on the pilots. The fuel control switches have mechanical locks. You must physically lift the switch to move it from run to cutoff. Both switches moving simultaneously seemed impossible without deliberate pilot action. For 7 months, the crew were blamed. Suspected suicide, suspected murder. The family's devastated. If you want aviation investigations based on evidence, hit subscribe. I focus on what actually happened, not speculation. The Heathrow incident, February 2nd, 2026. Air India Flight 132, London Heathrow Airport, pre-flight checks. The captain attempted to set the left engine fuel control switch to run. The switch would not stay. It moved toward cutoff on its own. The mechanical lock failed. The captain tried again. Same result. Even a slight push caused the switch to slip. The aircraft was ground. Boeing was notified. The AAIB was notified. This was direct evidence that the fuel control switch mechanical lock could fail. The same aircraft type, the same switch design, the same defect that investigators said was impossible on Air India 171. The investigation was reopened. Mechanical failure is now a primary line of inquiry. The pilots who were blamed for 7 months now have evidence supporting their final words. I did not do that. The 2018 FAA warning that Boeing treated as low priority may have allowed a defect to remain in service that killed 261 people. This investigation is still active. This defect is not resolved. Defect 4. Manufacturing defects. 2023 to 2024. The FAA conducted surprise inspections of Boeing 787 manufacturing facilities. What they found was widespread quality control failure, improper fastener installation, incomplete inspections, fuselage panel defects, missing or incorrectly installed components. The supplier, Spirit Aerosystems, was found to have systematic quality problems. Boeing admitted the lapses. The FAA imposed production rate limits. Deliveries slowed. Some deliveries halted completely while aircraft were re-inspected. This was not a single defect. This was systemic failure in the manufacturing process. The 787 is built using advanced composite materials. If the composite panels are not joined correctly, structural integrity is compromised. Boeing is still addressing these issues. Enhanced inspections remain in place. The manufacturing defect is ongoing. Defect 5. Structural issues. 2020 to 2023. Boeing identified issues with fuselage skin delamination, composite material layers separating, production flaws in composite panel joins. The FAA ordered production slowdowns multiple times. Deliveries were halted while Boeing addressed structural concerns. Some aircraft already delivered required inspections and repairs. These are not minor cosmetic issues. These are structural integrity concerns on an aircraft designed to fly long-haul routes over oceans. Boeing has implemented additional quality checks, but the 787's composite construction remains under scrutiny. The structural defect issue is considered addressed but monitored. 5 defects, 10 years. Battery fires, resolved. Engine icing, resolved. Fuel switches, investigation active, not resolved. Manufacturing defects, ongoing oversight. Structural issues, addressed but monitored. So is the Boeing 787 safe? The answer is complicated. The battery and engine issues were identified, fixed, and have not recurred. The manufacturing and structural problems are being addressed with increased FAA oversight. But the fuel control switch defect remains unresolved. AIR, India 171 killed 261 people. The investigation is active. We do not know if it was pilot action or mechanical failure. We do know the mechanical failure is possible because it happened at Heathrow. We know Boeing was warned in 2018 and treated it as low priority. And we know that families spent 7 months believing their loved ones were killed by a suicidal pilot, when the evidence now suggests a defect may have been responsible. The 787 is one of the most technologically advanced aircraft ever built. It is also an aircraft that has experienced 5 major safety defects in its first decade of operation. Most have been resolved. One has not. And until the Air India 171 investigation concludes, the question of whether the Dreamliner is safe will remain complicated. Let me know your thoughts below. The Air India investigation is ongoing. Subscribe for updates when the final report is released, because 261 families deserve answers, and passengers deserve to know the truth.